Adobe Illustrator provides you with numerous shape tools that allow you to draw primitive shapes as the basis for your artwork. Often, the most complex artwork begins with these basic shapes. Understanding how to use and how to work with these tools is paramount to using Illustrator. I'm beginning this video with the shapes.ai file already open on my computer. And there's a number of different ways that you can draw using the shape tools. But first and foremost, your shape tools are located under this icon right here. Now, you can see that my icon is the polygon icon, and that's only because that was the last tool that I used inside of Illustrator. If you click and hold on that button, you will see all of the shape tools that are available. So depending on which tool was used last, you may see any one of these inside of your tools panel. What we're going to do is select the rectangle tool, and that's the most basic tool we can use here. And at the most basic level with the rectangle tool, you just click and drag to draw a shape. Now you'll notice on my computer, the default color is brown because that was the last color that I used. Again, you may get different results when you draw this shape. I'm going to go ahead and press the delete key to delete that object. And let's switch over to our swatches panel. And I'm going to select a blue color that's in my swatches panel here. Go ahead and close my swatches panel. And another way that we can draw using this tool is by simply clicking once on your artboard. This brings up the rectangle dialog box that allows you to specify the exact size of the shape that you're drawing. So for example, in the width field, I'm going to type 10. And if you want the shape to be perfect, meaning the width and height will be the same, you can just click on this link button, and that will allow both sizes to change proportionately. Now what you want to do here is unlink this and type in 10 and 10. And then if you turn on the link button, now when you change one of these fields, they'll both change at the same time. So I'm just going to go ahead and change this back to 10. So we're going to create a shape that's 10 inches by 10 inches. So I'll go ahead and click OK. And you'll notice that it created my rectangle at the perfect size that I described. Now if you switch over to your selection tool, I'm just going to reposition this so that it basically covers my entire artboard. And then to make it easier to work with, I'm going to go to the object menu and choose lock selection. What that'll do is prevent me from accidentally selecting this object later on. I'm going to come back over here to my shape tools. I'm going to click and hold on this. And this time we're going to go to our ellipse tool. So the ellipse tool is used for drawing ovals and circles. If I just click and drag with this tool, it's going to draw an oval. Now I'm going to press the delete key to remove that object. And so that we can see the difference between the background and the shapes we're drawing, let's go ahead and come over here to our swatches panel. And I'm going to choose this dark green color. Go ahead and close my swatches panel. So if I click and drag, and as I'm still holding my mouse down, if I hold down the Shift key on my keyboard, this is going to draw a perfect circle. I want to point out that these shortcut keys will apply to any of these shape tools that you draw. Let's go ahead and delete that one. And one more shortcut key you can use is if you hold down the Option key on Mac or the Alt key on Windows, and you click and drag, it's going to draw from the center. And if you also add the Shift key, it'll draw a perfect circle from the center. Let's go ahead and delete that, because what I want to do here is draw maybe some hills in the foreground here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag to draw an ellipse that's partially covering the bottom of my artboard. Then what you can do is draw another one, and maybe yet another one up here. Now what I'm also going to do here is I'm going to switch to my selection tool, and I'm going to shift click to select all of these objects. I'm going to come over here to my swatches panel. Let's click on this green gradient that we have saved in here. And then we'll go down to our gradient panel and change the angle to 90 degrees. Now you can always reposition these using the selection tool by clicking and dragging them to kind of change how they appear. And I'm just going to create a little bit of randomness here. And you can always grab one of these and choose Object Arrange Send Backwards to send some of them behind one another to change their appearance. Now, another little tip as you're using these shape tools is that as you're clicking and dragging to draw the shape, I'm still holding down my mouse button, but if I decide that I wanted this to be positioned in a different area of my artboard, I can hold down the spacebar on my keyboard and reposition this in a different area. When I let go of the spacebar, I can continue dragging to draw the shape that I want. So I'll go ahead and delete that object, and then I'm just going to move up to the top by holding down the spacebar on my keyboard to temporarily access my hand tool. I'm still going to keep the ellipse tool selected, but in my swatches panel, let's change that tool to this swatch, which is like a white to light blue swatch. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to click and drag to draw several circles, several ellipses, to create kind of a cloud shape up here. And you can really draw as many as you want to get the appearance that you're looking for. Now what I'm going to do to make that look a little different is I'll just select my selection tool. I'm going to click and drag to marquee all of these shapes. And then I'm going to go to the window menu, come down to Pathfinder, and in the Pathfinder dialog, click on this first button, which is the Unite option. That takes all of those individual ellipses that we drew and merges them into one. It's a very, very nice feature. Let's go ahead and do that one more time. I'm going to draw another cloud back here. Again, there's no right or wrong way to draw these shapes. I'm just being creative here and drawing some different shapes to create the overall appearance of a cloud. Again, I'll marquee these with my selection tool, choose Unite, and now we've got a single shape. I'm going to go ahead and close the Pathfinder panel. So you can see how this is an interesting way to create a new shape from very primitive ellipses. Let's keep going here. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to my rectangle tool for a second. I'm going to click and drag to draw a tall rectangle on my page. And once I have that drawn, I'm going to make sure the fill is frontmost, and I'm going to choose one of these dark brown colors to fill that shape with that color. If I click and hold on the shape tool, I can come down to the polygon tool. Now the polygon tool, if I just click, it'll ask me how big I want it to be and how many sides. So if I type 5 sides, click OK, it's going to create a polygon for me. And that may or may not be what you want. So I'm going to press the delete key to delete that object. Another way you can use the polygon tool is that if I click and drag, as I'm dragging, I can press the down arrow key on my keyboard or the up arrow key on my keyboard to add sides to the shape, or the down arrow key to reduce sides of the shape. So I'm going to press the down arrow key as many times as I need to get a triangle. Then I'm going to hold down the shift key, again still holding down the mouse button, and then I'm going to release to draw a triangle. I'm going to switch to my selection tool so I can move this. So I'm going to position this over here, somewhere like that. And let's fill that with like a dark green color. There we go. Now, to finish this off, I'm going to switch to my direct selection tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this topmost anchor point. You'll notice that the top anchor point is blue, but the other two are white. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on that top anchor point and drag straight up. Then I'm going to hold down the shift key on my keyboard to constrain the movement vertically. And as you can see now, I have a nice tree that we can use for other objects. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to my selection tool. I'm going to click on the triangle for the tree, and then shift click on the trunk of the tree. And I'm going to hold down the Option key on Mac, the Alt key on Windows, and I'm just going to drag this over here to make a copy. Then what I'll do is I'll grab one of these corner points, hold down the Shift key on my keyboard to scale this down. You can then use the Alt or Option key on your keyboard to make a couple of copies to make it look like a cluster of trees that are living over here. I'm going to come back up to my Shape tool again, click and hold on that. Let's grab the Star tool. The Star tool, which is very similar to the Polygon tool, if you click and drag, it's going to draw a basic star. Using the up and down arrow keys allows you to add and remove points from that star. So I'm going to stick with one of these stars here. That looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and maybe fill this with white, and then we'll just position that way up here in the upper right-hand corner. Now, if we click and hold on that shape one more time, you'll notice we have a rounded rectangle tool. The job of this tool is to draw a shape with rounded rectangles. You can use this, maybe you wanted to put some type on this design, so you might want to put a background here with rounded rectangles. And if we press the delete key to remove it, and we have that tool selected, we can also come up here to preferences, and we can change the corner radius that's going to be used for this shape. So if I increase this to maybe 1/4 inch, click OK. Now when I draw this shape, you can see that the radius has changed a little bit to reflect that change. I'm going to delete that for now. As a finishing touch, I'm going to click and hold on that shape, and I'm going to choose the Flare tool. Now the Flare tool can be a bit confusing because if you use this tool on just a white background, you really don't see much of a difference. But when you use it on a colored background, what you can do is click and drag. Now the Lens Flare tool does draw from the center by default. So I'm just going to click and drag. It looks kind of funny at first, but when you let go and you switch to your selection tool and deselect, you'll notice we get a nice little lens flare that appears. And this lens flare is actually using blending modes to change how it interacts with your artwork beneath it. As you can see, these shape tools may seem basic at first, but a lot of what you will be creating in Illustrator can often begin with these basic shape tools. And knowing how to use them effectively will make the design process that much easier for you.